Good evening, and thank you for watching a special edition of ABC-7 Extra. I'm Stephanie Valle in for Saul Signs. It's Sunday, December 19th, and tonight I'm bringing you extra depth on my series, Borderland Crimes, now entering its 4th season. The podcast and broadcast stories focus on tragedies that have happened not just in El Paso, but in our region. I also talk to those who were most impacted, detail how these cases were investigated, and show you how the families and the communities have moved forward. Tonight, I profile the stories that I covered in 2021.
They had shot them all. And we're not just talking just shot in the head, they shot them to bits.
A massacre that was covered up for decades.
I just believe that he knows more than what he's ever been willing to say.
A murder that has remained unsolved for nearly 30 years.
He came in and said, you know what? I don't want to say it, but everybody's thinking it. Something's not right. What David's telling us doesn't make sense.
A family that was torn apart after a son murdered his mother.
When you home, baby. Come home, baby.
And a kidnapping of a young girl while her family was Christmas shopping and who was later found dead. All of these stories can be found in my podcast, Borderland Crimes, now on kvia.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. First up tonight, one of the worst acts of violence committed against Latinos in the state of Texas. It happened 103 years ago on January 28th, an orchestrated mass murder and cover-up committed by members of one of the most storied law enforcement agencies, the Texas Rangers. It was 1918. Mexico was still in the midst of a revolution. Texas was a battleground as violence spilled over the border. The Rangers were roughly organized. That year, on January 28th, Texas Rangers killed 15 men and boys in the tiny ranching town of Porvenir, Texas, 170 miles southeast of El Paso near Big Bend. The massacre wiped the town off the map. And according to research by former investigative reporter turned author Doug Swanson, the Rangers' behavior earned them the nickname of roving assassins.
All along the border, from the Rio Grande up to the Big Bend, to instigate a reign of terror. And that was their preferred method of operating. They killed some bad guys, but they also killed a lot of innocent people.
One of those people murdered at Porvenir was the great-grandfather of El Pasoan Arlinda Valencia. The retired high school educator learned about the massacre from a family member. And what did your uncle tell you about what had happened?
That they had come in the middle of the night and that they'd gotten all the men in the village and that they had shot them all. And we're not just talking just shot in the head, they shot them to bits. You couldn't even recognize the parts. In fact, when they buried them, they had to bury them in a mass grave because they didn't know what part belonged to what. That's how bad they shot them up.
And there were 15 dead, ages 16 to 72. There was no reason to kill them, but the Rangers and the cavalrymen did, and then left. They were strictly after revenge, punishment maybe for some crimes that others had committed, and they left 42 children fatherless on that night.
It must have been horrific to hear that about your family.
Well, it was horrific to even think that my great-grandmother and all the other wives and children had to see that. I don't see how anyone could stay sane after that.
No one was held responsible at that moment, not until years later. And even then, still, no one was sent to prison. The Texas Rangers tell me there is no relationship between the massacre and current-day Rangers. If you listen to the podcast, you'll hear the horrific details Arlinda Valencia uncovered in her research of the massacre and what the former educator is doing to make sure more Texans know about the dark history of the Rangers. A mass murder and a cover-up, the massacre at Porvenir, Texas, is available now on kvia.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. From Porvenir, Texas to Las Cruces, New Mexico, here's a look at a nearly 30-year-old case that Doña County Sheriff's investigators are still struggling to solve. Extra depth on a 27-year-old unsolved murder. Here at Mesilla Dam outside Las Cruces, Doña County Sheriff's deputies found the body of Robert Rocha. He was lying by that tree near his truck. He was nude and had been shot. His daughter and sister have been trying to learn who killed him ever since.
Just listening to the river and how it sounds just passing by. And that's the way I feel my case is gone. Our case, my brother's case. It's just flowing away.
Becky Garibay doesn't like coming to the dam. It pains her knowing her brother was killed here. But she wore a shirt made in Robert's honor to remind her of why she came. She wanted me to see where her brother's life ended and her family's nightmare began. On June 28, 1994, Robert, a 43-year-old Navy vet, was found shot to death.
Right there on the river, right on the edge.
The 43-year-old was lying face down, nude, next to his truck.
And it was still running, and they found him, and then they took the truck in. Full of blood and heartbreak. It was awful.
Becky's husband erected a cross made of railroad ties on the property they once shared with Robert. It's a massive, sturdy memorial to the man they lost 27 years ago, and a reminder that still no one has been arrested or charged with Robert's murder.
When you have a pain in your heart, I just want to pull their hair and poke their eyes. I do. I could tell them, if we ever go to court, I'm going to jump over that little white fence and I'm going to pull their hair, scratch them, whatever I can do, because they hurt my family. They hurt my mom and dad.
Robert's firstborn daughter, Stephanie Horton, was 18 when her dad was killed.
How are you feeling now about resolution in this case?
I still have hope.
It's okay. Take your time.
I pray every day, though. I pray, for God to please help us. Just, for an answer.
She met with me in Las Cruces this spring. She traveled from Florida to get an update on the investigation from the new detective handling the case in the Doña County Sheriff's Office, and to share suspicions about who might know more about the murder than they're willing to admit. While Stephanie and Becky suspect the murderer knew Robert well, Stephanie goes further. She thinks her father's death is linked to someone in her family.
I just believe that he knows more than what he's ever been willing to say.
But will that person give Stephanie the answers she needs?
You brought up my dad, but it's been all these years, and my one question for you though, how come you've never tried to go and talk to investigators?
Well, I did.
But the sheriff says some people may need to open up once again to help shed more light on this unsolved murder.
We just want some closure. We want to move forward, and we hope we can make something out of this case. But I do believe in this case it will take a couple of people to really be forthcoming about the circumstances of that night. So to me, any time we can keep even a partial light on some of these older cases, to me there's always hope.
In this episode of KVIA ABC-7's Borderland Crimes, who the family thinks is holding back information that could break open the case. And after all these years, what's keeping this crime from being solved? The episode Blood and Heartbreak, The Unsolved Murder of Robert Rocha, is available now wherever you get your podcasts and on kvia.com. Coming up, innovative detective work by members of the El Paso Police Department to solve 2 cases. Both were deeply painful for the families involved, and they were also traumatic for the community. You're watching a special edition of ABC-7 Extra.
Compared to many SUVs, a Volkswagen can save you money on maintenance. Isn't that illuminating? Now's the time to sign then drive. Hurry in during the Volkswagen Sign Then Drive event and lease a new 2022 Atlas Crossport for 0 down, 0 deposit, 0 first month payment, and 0 due at signing.
When a judge dismissed a murder case for prosecutorial vindictiveness, ABC-7 had questions for the district attorney. Saul Signs did everything except give up. He called repeatedly. He went to her office.
Try to get an appointment.
And finally tracked her down.
Ma'am, I have to insist.
Reminding her of her campaign promise of transparency.
We will do that at another time.
Working for you to hold officials accountable. The Extra Advantage on ABC-7 at 10.
'Tis the season to save at Oscar Leaser's Hyundai of El Paso. Save with 0% financing up to 48 months, plus no payments for 90 days on all 2022 Hyundai models in stock. That's no interest and no payments for 90 days. Decorate your driveway with an Elantra, Sonata, Kona, Tucson, or Santa Fe. And sign and drive with 0 due at signing, 0 cash out of pocket. 'Tis the season to save at Oscar Leaser's Hyundai of El Paso.
A ballet dancer's body goes through so much pain, and the pain was really bad in my knees, my ankles, even in my hips sometimes. When you're a dancer, that's just the last thing that you want. And so my mom took me into Good Feet, and then that's when we got my arch supports. A week after I got them, I was like, holy cow, all of a sudden the pain just went away. I didn't even know the arch supports existed until I got them, and I was like, where were these all my life?
See if they work for you with a free arch support fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Compared to many SUVs, a Volkswagen can save you money on maintenance. Isn't that illuminating? Now's the time to sign then drive. Hurry in during the Volkswagen Sign Then Drive event and lease a new 2022 Atlas Crossport for 0 down, 0 deposit, 0 first month payment, and 0 due at signing.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. I'm Stephanie Valle. Tonight, I'm giving you extra depth on my local series, Borderland Crimes, now entering its 4th season. We just revisited 2 cases that were unresolved in southern New Mexico and West Texas. Now we're focusing on 2 cases here in El Paso where diligent police work and innovative investigative techniques helped solve 2 cases. They were traumatic to the families and gripped the communities as a whole. Extra depth on the murder of a woman by her own son. It devastated the family and stunned the community. Gloria Marmolejo, a beloved mother and sister, was first reported missing, last seen at her home in East El Paso. Her family said they didn't know who could hate her enough to murder her, but police said her son killed her, and they also learned other secrets he carried that were tearing his family apart. This story is an ABC-7 original. Summer 2009. Gloria Marmolejo was days away from turning 54. The divorcee and young grandmother had recently retired from a career in the Texas Workforce Commission. She now had more time for friends and family. Gloria took an extended vacation to Arizona to be closer to one of her 2 sons, Manny Marmolejo, and his family. But on Saturday, July 25th, she decided she would return home to El Paso, and no one heard from her again.
She calls us when she goes to the mall. She calls us when she goes to the store. She contacts us every time she takes a move anywhere.
Gloria's brother Mark Huerta told ABC-7 on July 30th that's why he and Manny called El Paso police to report Gloria missing. Manny then told them why Gloria returned to El Paso.
She had driven down here to be with her mom and her son David.
Detective Joe Ochoa met with Gloria's younger son, 29-year-old David Marmolejo, and he learned David didn't know his mom had planned to visit. In fact,
David said he was at the movies in Northeast El Paso that evening when Gloria called, asking him to go to the house and unlock a bedroom door. David said he left the theater, got to the house on the east side, they talked, he helped her unpack, and he headed back to the theater. He even showed detectives his phone log, saying the last time he heard from his mom was at 5:40 p.m., 26 minutes after her first call. He told detectives he was already heading back to the Northeast. Investigators were skeptical.
His story was not making sense. Being a lifelong El Pasoan, kind of know how long it takes to get from the Northeast to the east side to the west side, and things like that, at what time of the day. And if you haven't seen your mom in 3 months, you're gonna say hello, give her a kiss, and go back to your friends.
The investigators weren't alone thinking David's story was odd. David's brother Manny had his own concerns.
He came in and said, you know what? I don't want to say it, but everybody's thinking it. Something's not right. What David's telling us doesn't make sense. His reaction to my mom missing is not what we expect from somebody that loves her mom, loves his mom, somebody that last saw her.
Manny also told investigators Gloria wanted the element of surprise. She wanted to see if his girlfriend was living at her house. She disapproved of 18-year-old Mariah Wilson because the young woman was also David's stepsister. Less than a week after Gloria arrived in El Paso, her body was found in Santa Teresa.
We don't know who could have that kind of hate or who could have that kind of anger.
In my latest episode of ABC-7's Borderland Crimes podcast, what police learned from David's phone records and his own girlfriend that made him the prime suspect.
But what did you think he had done?
At that point, I thought he had done something that he shouldn't have done.
Like what?
Something maybe possibly to his mother.
You'll hear David's explanation for the holes in his alibi the night his mother was last seen alive.
Well, that's inaccurate. Something's wrong there. Okay, something's very wrong there. Something's very inaccurate there.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to leave it up to you to explain that, because that doesn't make sense whatsoever at all.
In my podcast, Borderland Crimes, I delved more into why, despite all the evidence against him, David Marmolejo had to face trial a second time for the murder of his mother. The episode is called We Don't Know Who Can Have That Kind of Hate. A family is torn apart after a son murders his mother. Find it now on kvia.com and wherever you download and listen to podcasts. After the break, it was a tragedy that traumatized a family and an entire community, as everyone witnessed the kidnapping of a little girl from a store caught on surveillance video. What we can all learn from this 2-decade-old case next. You're watching a special edition of ABC-7 Extra.
The ho-ho holidays are here, and that means it's my favorite time of year to do some amazing things. Presents under the Christmas tree. Road trip to visit family and friends. Ho, ho, ho! Giving the best prizes of the year. Drive today with no down payment, all changes for life, and ho, 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 all the payments for 90 days. From everyone at the Bravo family, happy holidays. Who are we? Bravo!
Long John Silver's will have you cheesing all season with our signature mac and cheese topped with crumblies. Have it delivered from our shore to your door with your favorite family meal. Visit longjohnsilvers.com to find delivery options near you. Long John Silver's, this year.
Add fun to your Christmas list with hot deals only at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Get up to 50% off game tables, up to 50% off ride-ons, and up to $500 off connected fitness equipment. Shop these deals at your store at academy.com through December 19th.
The unknown is not empty. It's a storm that crashes and consumes, replacing thought with worry. But one thing can calm uncertainty: an answer. Uncovered through exploration, teamwork, and innovation. An answer that leads to even more answers. Mayo Clinic. You know where to go.
Chevy is taking people lots of places this holiday.
We're going sledding!
We're going to find the perfect tree.
We're going to Nana.
Let your Chevy dealer take you there with Chevy Red Tags, where the price you see is the price you pay.
Happy holidays from Chevy.
Find new places, find new roads. Very well qualified buyers may also be eligible to get 0% financing on all Silverado Crew Cab pickups. Plus, you may qualify for $500 bonus cash when you find your red tag, or use that bonus cash to get $1,750 total value on this Silverado.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday. I'm Stephanie Valle. Tonight, I'm bringing you a special edition focusing on my podcast, Borderland Crimes, now entering its 4th season. The final story tonight captivated the community 20 years ago, the kidnapping and murder of a little girl, Alexandra Flores. Years ago, on November 18th, 2001, 5-year-old Alexandra Flores walked into this Lower Valley Walmart to go Christmas shopping with her parents and siblings, and she disappeared.
Baby, we miss you. When you home, baby. Come home, baby.
Her parents made a desperate plea for her return on our 10 o'clock news that night. The chilling moment Alexandra went missing was caught on surveillance camera. A little girl in a red dress walked out of the store, led by a man in a dark shirt and white cap.
It was a deep, deep hurt that we have got to find. We've got to find her.
Carlos Leon was El Paso's chief of police. He went to the scene and met her distraught parents.
I remember talking to the mom, and I said, this is only the second time in my entire career that I said something like that. And I said, I guarantee you we will find who did this. We will find your daughter.
Did you fear that maybe you wouldn't be able to keep that promise?
Yeah, yes, I did. But I thought to myself, we have got to solve this. There's no way that somebody can go into a store and take a 5-year-old child under everybody's nose.
14 hours later, an early arriving employee found the nude, burned body of a lifeless little girl in the parking structure at a West Central doctor's office, more than 15 miles away.
Our first question for police was, is this body of Alexandra Flores, the 5-year-old that disappeared or was abducted from a Walmart at Americas and Alameda last night? Right now, the police are saying they don't know.
But it was Alexandra Flores. The medical examiner determined she was strangled. The attempted burning came after her death. No evidence of sexual assault was found. A store security officer told Detective Turi Ruiz a van was left running in the parking lot around the time Alexandra went missing.
She said, I stood by the van. I waited like 10-15 minutes, nobody showed up. So she was kind enough to get her daily log activity and put down a slight description of the van and the plate number. And once we ran the plate, we came up with a registered owner, and the registered owner popped up as a registered sex offender.
His name was David Santiago Renteria. He had turned 32 3 days after Alexandra was kidnapped. About a decade earlier, Renteria had molested a little girl who was close to Alexandra's age. He lived down the street from the Walmart. Police had photos of Renteria, hand and fingerprints, even his shoe size. The decisive clue was found on a melted bag over Alexandra's head.
And then they went through a process of using super glue, and it did reveal what was later identified as a palm print.
It looked like it matched Renteria's print on file. To confirm it, a detective took the bag to the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C.
We didn't want to ship the evidence or anything and risk getting it lost, so we kind of pinned it to Bruce's shirt here. Sent him off like a little kid with the evidence. I said, don't lose it. Do not lose the evidence.
The prints matched. David Renteria was arrested and tried for capital murder.
It only took him 129 seconds. 129 seconds for him to do the shopping he wanted to do on the second visit to Walmart. He goes in and he walks out with that 5-year-old.
The emotional trial gripped the community, which came together to support a family that had to relive the most horrible time of their life.
Those are the kind of cases that really affect any human being.
A park 2 miles from the Flores family's home in San Elizario was named in her honor in 2007. A tree was planted at the school where she attended pre-K. A plaque there proclaims her El Paso's little angel. While David Renteria was convicted, sentenced to death, and awaits execution, Alexandra's sister wants the lesson from her sister's death to live on.
I feel it's important for people not to forget what happened to Alexandra, because it can still happen now.
In my podcast, Borderland Crimes, what the prosecution said to convince a jury that David Renteria was indeed a child killer, how Renteria nearly got off death row, and the lesson generations of parents can learn from this devastating case. Lured from the toy aisle, the kidnapping and murder of Alexandra Flores. You can find it now on kvia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll be bringing you more in-depth stories in 2022. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the Borderland Crimes podcast in your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Have a happy and safe holiday. I'm Stephanie Valle. Have a great night.